Well, let's have a look at a historical encounter. This was played between Richard Reti and Alexander Alekhine. The fourth world champion is playing black in this position. It was 1925. So this was basically 2 years before the legendary world championship match, which happened between Capablanca and Alexander. So basically, your task is to find a very good plan for black in this position, and continue. Basically, black is Alexander Alekhine. He's going to somehow figure out a way to create a very strong attack on the white king. How do we start? That's the question. How do we formulate a plan here? So if you want, you can take a few seconds, pause the video, definitely spend a few seconds. I'm going to go right ahead and show you the plan. So first of all, you have to be very realistic in your evaluation of the position. At the moment, you have to conclude, okay, the king is super safe. You can see the white king is super safe. All his pieces are very active, more active than your pieces, by the way. So realistically, it's not possible to attack white right now. We have to somehow create weaknesses around his king, and this is where a very important thing, has to be realized. Your rook's pawns, the pawns over here and here, they are least important in terms of defense, but they're extremely important when it comes to attacking chess, right? They're very offensive in nature, and they can be great attacking pieces. Specifically, if the pawn can go forward all the way to h3, he can create this stronghold on the g2 square, or even just going to h4 and capturing here destroys the structure and creates liabilities on the king side. So that's plan number one: push your rook's pawn. So let's go with that. Pawn to h5. Obviously, white's not going to just sit around. He's Reti. He's a famous player, a composer, and in his name you also have the opening, right? Reti opening. So he played a very good move here. Pawn to b4. It's called as a minority attack. Two pawns are fighting against three pawns. The idea is very simple. All of white's pieces are lined up against the c6 pawn, the poor c6 pawn. Now, the bishop on h1 attacks that indirectly. Knight attacks that indirectly. The queen attacks, and the rook is soon going to join and attack that one particular tiny point on c6. The plan is very simple. You want to go a4, b5, take on c6, and that square will be extremely weak, right? So that's called as minority attack. Pawn to a6, stopping the breakthrough. Now we have rook c1, and now we go forward with our attack on the king side, h4. Now the dilemma for white here is, do he take? Should he really capture this? Because if he does, look at this pawn structure. It does not look healthy, right? So he has to basically either let the pawn come forward, let him capture, or leave him, or just capture him and accept the damage in your position. Here, white decides to play the move a4. He's going to continue his attack, ignore the pawn. So Alexander now takes on g3, and after pawn takes, basically f takes is not really a very reliable option because the e3 square is weakened. You can just drop your knight on this square. It's pretty good. So let's go back. He obviously takes with the h pawn, keeping his pawn structures intact. And there is something very interesting here. You know, now because there is no h2 pawn, this pawn structure has become slightly vulnerable, and it is now possible to create an attack. And Alexander now formulates a beautiful attacking plan. He plays the move queen to c7. It's called as a preparatory move. We are preparing for an attack, and it's necessary for the queen to be on c7. What's the queen doing on c7? Well, it's targeting the g3 pawn, and why is that important? We'll soon figure out. Pawn to b5 is played, and black takes the time to capture on b5, because after takes back, the rook on a8, he has done nothing in his life. He's the laziest piece on the board. He's not moved a single time. But now he's already seeing greener pastures. He has squares like a5 or a3. He can soon become active. I mean, he's already activated from his initial square without doing much. Nepotism. So that rook has been activated, and basically we have uh, maximized the potential of pieces. And this is what all the attacking players do. They make sure that all the pieces are on the optimum square before they attack. And here comes the stunning move now. Can you guess the move? It's the move rook to e3. Brilliant move. um, and more than anything, this has a psychological effect on the opponent. Alexander's reputation is already of a fierce attacking player, and when he plays a move like this, you're basically mentally given up. All right, so let's see what happens. What's the idea of this? Well, the idea is very simple. You want to take on g3, and after pawn takes, there is queen takes followed by mate, as you'll see how. Can he really capture this rook? Not really, because that would end up in disaster. The queen takes on g3. That's why the queen was necessary on the c7 square. It's a check. If king f1, the very simple move knight takes e3 is a checkmate with a fork. That's an advantageous checkmate. All right. You can also play the move bishop g2. Does anything change? Nothing at all, because knight takes on e3 is still a fork. Attacks the g2 square. Attacks the queen. And queen takes g2 is a threatened checkmate. Can you really stop it? Not really, because just this guy. If he goes there, just knight takes or pawn takes, and nothing is happening. Yep. So black is completely winning in this position. The rook cannot be touched. There is one way to play this position. In the game, knight f3 was played, which looks very similar to the other move, right? The other move is bishop to f3. Trying to basically disconnect the rook from the g3 square, stopping him from sacrificing himself on the g3 square. That's basically the plan. But it looks very, very complicated, and you have to have the mind of a, you have to be as cool as cool as a cucumber to find a move like bishop f3. It's not easy to differentiate between bishop f3 and knight f3. Both of them seems like the same idea, but they're not. Because now if you take rook a e8, actually the position is kind of complicated practically speaking, but if you look at the evaluation, actually white is doing much well. If you turn on the engine, white is actually having a small but lasting advantage in this position. Obviously it's a practical position, right? So engines cannot be relied upon, but that says a lot. White is okay in this position, but in the game he played the disastrous move knight to f3, and this is where things go downhill. C into b, it's a kind of a deflection. Queen takes b, and now we play the move knight to c3. All right, the queen is attacked, the e2 pawn is attacked, and our threat is very simple. You want to take the e2 pawn, which comes with a fork, and the queen is at the same time attacked. What if he plays a move like queen c4? All we have to do is throw in more fuel into the fire. Knight fe4. This is completely crushing. This guy is attacked. This knight is also attacking the rook here. And can you really capture it? No, because just queen takes on c4 is winning. So in all of this mess, you can see that black is actually coming out on top. That's something that can be concluded. You can't really capture here, by the way, still, because queen takes is still coming with a checkmate. Yep, so that's not possible. All right, let's go back. After the move knight c3, queen takes b7 was played, and Alexander now decided, okay, let me just simplify the position and get a winning advantage. Very simply. So he just takes, plays the move knight e2. That's a fork. King moves away, and now you can see if you take his rook, he will take your rook. So he's like, okay, why do I have to defend or capture at all? I'll just put more fuel into the fire. Knight e4. So this rook is attacked, this rook is attacked, f2 pawn is attacked, everything attacked. Rook c4. And now if you take this rook, he will take your rook, or even your bishop is hanging. So Alexander says, let me clear up all this mess. I'll rather just take on f2, protect my rook. Now my rook is safe, and my bishop is safe because the knight protects the bishop, and it also attacks the bishop on h1. Suddenly, the fog has gone. It has been cleared up, and black is completely winning in this position. So let me just show you how the game ended after this. It is a matter of technique now. Bishop g2, bishop e6 attacks the rook. Rook goes back. Knight g for check. King cannot really step backwards, because if he does, let me just show you what happens here. Something as simple as rook a1 can win the game. Yep, so that's out of question. So you have to step up, and now just knight check to take this guy. Basically, if this guy is captured, you have knight takes f3. That's a fork on the king and the rook. So he takes this, knight check again. Again, he can't really go back because there's rook a1. So he has to play the move king h3. He has to step up. Knight e3. Discovered attack, discovered check. Pawn is pinned, so he can't really push. He has to again go back. He's helpless here. It's a kind of a tiny windmill. Now we simply capture. Bishop takes f3, knight d4. This is where Reti resigned. Basically, no matter what you play, for example, your rook is attacked. You have to move here or here. In either case, you just take. Bishop d5, double attack. And you can't play the move rook b3 because I will take that as well. And that's why it's completely winning. Yeah, pawn up, and soon a minor piece up as well. But the point is, I think the most important part was this entire, it was a plan. It was not just like a combination. Combinations don't appear just out of nowhere, right? You have to have a plan. You have to have positional superiority, and that was achieved with the move h5, h4. This is a very nowadays it's very common idea to push your h pawn, but at this point in 925, Alexander had the vision to see this, right? You create your opponent, try to create weaknesses around your opponent's king, yeah, by pushing the rook's pawn. And now it was this beautiful idea with rook to e3 after maximizing all of his pieces, just rook e3. Engineers are saying that white is okay, but psychologically this has a uh, it puts you in a very different situation, yeah. Specifically if you're playing against a player like someone like Alexander or Tal or Kasparov, right? They have a reputation. They generally don't bluff, and even when they do, like this one, it kind of works. So this was the trick. It's like Thor's hammer, right? Mr. Thor, in the West is called as Thor. In our country, it's called as Indra's. So it's like Indra's Vajra, right into the heart of the White's position. So what a beautiful attack by Alexander. And you can see we have a lot to learn. And Alexander was a favorite player of great players, great attacking players like Tal and Fisher. You can see Fisher's young photos where he's reading Alexander's books. So yeah, every player must study his games. Basically, in general, in chess history in general, is something to be studied in great depth. So, hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time.